Hello everybody and welcome back to a Slice, a Spice, and a Dice movie reviews. Today we're going to be talking about a film. Y'all, this was a nice little surprise for me. It's called The Old Ways. Now this film was of the possession kind of genre, but for me it delivered the story in a refreshing format and a location and a setting and a style that I haven't seen myself before, and so it made it really interesting on multiple levels. Now before we proceed, let me kind of lay out how this review is going to go. Okay. So for the first part, what I'm going to do is just give like my little review of it. It's going to be no real major spoiler alerts mentioned, all that kind of stuff. We'll decide, did it make me put my phone down? And does it get a slice, a spice, or a dice? Okay. Then I'm going to give the spoiler alert, and we're going to go into like the second part of this review, where if you've seen this and you want to dish on it, we gonna dish. Okay, so let's jump in. So this movie is on the Netflix platform. Now here's the description of the film. While investigating a story of sorcery and healing in Veracruz, a journalist is kidnapped by a group of locals who claim she's the devil incarnated. Now overall, there's like so many different layers to the story. That is the nutshell of it, but again, it's just not even that simple. But the layers, like I said earlier, are told in such a unique way that you're just like, whoa, it really just gets you going mentally, thinking about the film, visually, all that stuff. Now the ways that this works for the film is because it's unique, it's a unique setting, it's unique characters, it's a unique storyline. There's all of this uniqueness to it that works to keep it very fresh, very interesting, that kind of thing. Now here's the only thing, if I come up with some stuff that I'm like, it also kind of works against the film for me at times, because literally this film could have been about 10 different stories, okay? There's so many different things going on in it that I'm just like, oh yeah, pick your story ending, you know what I'm saying? So that part kind of works against it, because when you think like, oh, it's gonna be this, and you're like, okay, well maybe we're over here. Okay, well maybe we're over here. So there's a little bit of that going on. Now for me, that didn't even, really do anything bad to it. It was just one of those things where I was like, yeah, they could have kind of reeled it in a little bit, because it was already working in this way over here, or explore these characters more in another installment. Now I feel like the acting was pretty much what you're gonna get out of a horror genre, maybe a little bit above that. There was no major performances going on here. At times I felt like, because of the script, the actors and actresses were gonna be a little bit limited, because some of the parts of the script I was kind of like, you're reaching a little bit with this, or you're trying a little bit too hard, but nonetheless it wasn't like a B grade vibe to it by any means. So that part, like, I didn't feel yanked out of the movie, you know what I'm saying? Like when someone's performance is like, oh my god, their agent must hate them, I was like not feeling that vibe at all. The script, like I said a couple of times, I was like, yeah, let's go back and try that part over, but kudos to you for showing up and trying. Now also the setting of this was amazing, okay? The characters were amazing. If you've seen the cover and all that, you've seen the old ancient looking woman and all that, very unsettling. Her character arc was very interesting. It was very entertaining. The jungle-like setting to it was amazing, because you felt like, first of all, where is this? Are they out in the middle of nowhere? But they don't seem to be in the middle of nowhere. It had this very mysterious, almost Lost. Remember that series? That kind of vibe, like what? There was that going on with it. Now again, I've never been to somewhere like that. I'm not used to seeing stuff like that, so that could be normal to some people. For me, it was not, so it just added that other layer of mystery. Now, let's answer a couple of questions. Okay, did it make me put my phone down? Yes. I will be honest, a couple of times in the beginning when it was getting going, I was like, well, let's just, get our little phone, see what's going on. But I wasn't going on some 2-hour TikTok binge, okay? I was just checking on all people. So yeah, it kept my attention. The phone did not win out over that. Does it get a slice, a spice, or a dice? It gets all three, okay? And I ain't backing off that. So it got all three, because I was just like, this is amazing. This was a really great film. It's so difficult in this day and age, because so much content is out there, to surprise me, you know what I'm saying? And so for me, I'm like, hey, they did it. They resold the story to me that I haven't seen yet. And I was like, I'm here for it. Thank you very much. And more than that, they did it well. Okay, now we've reached that part of the review that we are going to be dishing on stuff that has major spoiler alerts. So this is going to be for people that, you're still going to watch it, you don't care about the spoiler alerts, or you've seen it and you want to dish on that. Regardless, let this be your warning that we're in spoiler alert nation. Okay, so let's talk about that main character, that girl. So in the beginning of the movie, we see, it's opening with her. Like her mother is going through some kind of possession thing, whatever. There's that whole interaction. So we see that whole dynamic of like, she starts off life with this really traumatic experience, seeing her mother possessed by something, and people trying to do a, the getting the demon out kind of a thing, the exorcism. That's the word I'm looking for. So there's that, which will add to her character arc and story arc and all that, which I think was really good. Now, here's one thing with that I'm like that alone, okay, just that story could have been a story. You know what I'm saying? It was like backstory there, but it was also one of those things where it was like, okay, that could be a whole other damn movie or a prequel or something. Okay, now let's also talk about that same girl's drug problem later. So once she's kidnapped, we start putting it together that it's like, this girl's got a drug problem. And that alone right there, okay, was taking me in two directions. First of all, I'm like, oh my God, she is being held by these people. They're saying she has a devil in her and she's going to start withdrawing, and that's absolutely horrible, I'm sure. And so then I started going this way. I was like, wait, what if they're saying that the devil in her is really her addiction, and that's what they're sensing, and these tests that they're doing, they're just picking up on that. And I honestly was like, this is going to be a commentary, and I guess it was regardless, on that, of that addiction being a devil and that kind of thing. There's a lot going on there, and again, that was a dynamic that I was like, damn, I haven't seen this yet. This is really interesting what they're doing here, but it also had me going way over here in this direction, because I was like, oh, that's what this is. And then it ends up not being that, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I kind of was interested in that. Now, overall, I felt like her character's arc was like very representative of like, modern society and needing to strip everything away and get back to basics, and technology is the evil and all that kind of stuff. Basically being so lost in being, human, you know what I'm saying? She lives in LA, she's got a drug problem, she's a journalist, she's living the fast life, and now she's back here at her origins. That whole storyline I thought was interesting. We've definitely seen that before, but that's okay, because they were kind of doing it in an interesting way. And again, it totally had me going down the rabbit hole of, oh, this is about like that, you know what I'm saying? It's not going to be an actual possession movie. So now also let's talk about just the overall ending to the film and whatnot. So the ending, if you have seen this, and again, if you haven't, this is major spoiler alert here. So by the end of the film, we realized that, yeah, this girl's possessed, okay? She went to this cave thing. She was forbidden to go there, but she went anyways. This thing got in her, and remember, her cousin has entered the picture during this, and the cousin, you're like, what? They really leave you with that whole lingering, is the cousin good or bad or whatever. But once we realize that's really what's going on, we're like, oh, damn, okay, so this was a real thing. She shouldn't have gone to that place. And then it finally works. All these things they're doing, they are able to get the demon out of her. Now, remember the little lady I talked about with that crazy look on her face? Okay, or the crazy look on her face with the pain and the scar and the eye and all that. So once we see that everything kind of collides into this thing of, no, the devil thing just jumped to her cousin. Now she has to do this because the old lady's, gone. And there's that whole thing of that, and you see it all adding up to this ending moment of when her coworker comes to look for her, and he does the same thing. And so it shows you that different perspective of, this is how we arrived at the opening scene. This is what all happened before them. That was so genius to me, because I was like this. I was like, oh, now I want to know about the old lady's story, because to me, I was like, that's just what this is. This goes, it hands down and hands down and hands down to person to person to person. And so I thought that was fascinating. I loved it. It answered questions from the beginning. It tied the movie in very nicely. So all that being said, I am dying for this director. I want to see this director do more. I don't necessarily need to see more installments of this film. I feel like there's nothing else I really want to see. They could totally do it and do more about these characters and whatnot. But for me, I just felt like I've seen enough of that. But the director's way of telling a story, I enjoyed so much that I am 100% here for their next storytelling adventure. Now that is it for our little review today. I hope you enjoy it. Definitely watch this film, y'all. It is wonderful. It is a very, very good film, especially now that we're getting ready to enter October. I hope you enjoyed this, and I thank you for being here. And until my next movie binge, I'll see you here at the sofa.